The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
First Speaking Podcast, coming to you December 8th, 2024, Sunday noon. Just a little after 5 o'clock. Actually, it's 5:30 right now on the show. How you guys doing? Just wanted to do a quick check-in pod. A lot of things going on here the last couple of days, especially today in the world of college football. The New York Giants has lost their again once. I think they're 2-3. So I think they lost their last 9 games. I think now 9 or 10 games in a row. You know, it's about that in a second. But yeah, today is the officially the first. We finally officially got the official bracket of the first ever 12-team playoff college football. Today we finally got it. We went through championship Saturday yesterday. That was kind of an adventure in some degree. I didn't really get to watch a lot of the games on the front end. I was at work till late yesterday, later than usual on Saturdays, and then I got home and I was able to watch the Penn State Oregon game for the most part. I watched parts of the Clemson SMU game. That was actually ended up being a great finish. SMU was down big. And then, of course, they came back, made it a game, and then Clemson hits the late field goal to punch their ticket to the college playoff as a result, because the new rules now states that if you win one of the 4 conferences, you know, the ACC, or you get an automatic bid rather to the college football playoff. And Clemson, by virtue of winning ACC, gets a automatic bid rather to the college football playoff. So we finally got the 12 teams, and I gotta tell you, and you see the title of the show today, and it stands true. Like, you know, in the past it'd be controversial when you had 12, 4 teams, and who misses out here. And I've always said that for the most part they get it right. I mean, last year was a little bit of an issue, but I understood that argument of not having Florida State there because of the injuries to Jordan Travis, and of course the schedule and how they looked in those last weeks coming into the selection Sunday, versus the teams that were only 1 loss but had a harder schedule, like Washington, for example, you know, in Texas, for example. It made sense. But so the 12-team playoff now, and you always thought that, you always figured that even with 12-team playoff, you will still have some sort of chaos, no matter what. It has to be moved down. But the reason why I've always been advocating for more teams is because I think parity is good. I think parity is good for the sport, because in a sport where, you know, there's obviously 100+ schools involved that we cater to, rather, you know, to only have 4 teams have a realistic chance of even having cracking a shot at a national title. It felt too, small-minded. It felt too, in a sense, just, you know, we need to open it up. And it gave you less meaningful games to watch during the year. Like, look, we love watching Ohio State and Michigan every year. We love watching, all those big matchups, Alabama and Georgia, whatever. But why not have more meaningful games where teams who may have 2 losses, they may have 2 losses, but you still have meaningful games in the SEC, especially too. And, you know, I would argue this for the SEC. You know, while it wasn't as top heavy as years past, I would argue the SEC was still proved this year to be a better conference than the other 4 major conferences in college football, because I found the SEC this year in the end a lot deeper. Like, even the bottom got better. You know, Vanderbilt was frisky part of the year. Florida, we thought would have a disastrous year. You know, that over under 4.5 wins, and they end up getting some wins this year and becoming bowl eligible. Shout out to Billy Napier for a job well done in that conference with that team, and what he had to do with the quarterbacks and whatnot. So you got to give him credit there. So as for the matchups here in the college playoff, man, I'm really excited about this. I can't wait. The first set of games, the quarterfinals start on December 20th. Friday, December 20th. So the 4 buys here. So look up here on my phone. I have the bracket here. The 4 bye weeks here. The four bye weeks, I'm gonna call it. 1 through 4. The number 1 seed, of course, is Oregon. Number 2 is Georgia. 3 is Boise State. 4 is Arizona State. They all got the buys here. The matchups here for the first round. You have 5-seeded Texas versus 12-seeded Clemson. You have 6-seeded Penn State versus 11-seeded SMU, and thank God they got in. You have 7-seeded Notre Dame versus 10-seeded Indiana, and then you had 8-seeded Ohio State versus 9-seeded Tennessee. They really, honestly, there wasn't really much controversy really in the end when it came to this whole thing. Like the only thing really you could make a case for was what Alabama get with SMU rather losing yesterday. There was a chance if SMU lost. And let's say so SMU came back and made that tie the game late in the game with Clemson, but SMU was down big the entire game. Had SMU not come back and made that a game, I think the argument made that Alabama had gotten that last spot instead of SMU. I think SMU coming back making that a game late helped their case. I think also too with because we all thought that maybe Alabama could sneak in because again this SEC bias, which is a thing, but it's also in some case I can see why it's a thing because the SEC is definitely easily the strongest conference in all of college football. But Alabama also had some really bad losses this year. In addition to like they may have good wins, I guess like, for example, they beat Georgia early in the year, but they also had bad losses. They lost to Vanderbilt, which is obviously a bad loss when you look at the team the Vanderbilt is compared to Alabama, but I think the loss to Oklahoma really was one that was concerning because it wasn't that they lost Oklahoma; it's the way they lost. They lost in was it like 31-6, something like that? It's embarrassing fashion. There's also a case about Miami, but I think we all knew after the Syracuse loss last week, Miami was toast because Miami all year long was skating by an easy schedule, which made their margin of error very small. In other words, that they had to win every game pretty much to justify a chance into the playoff. And not only they lost to Georgia Tech early in the year, then they lose to Syracuse the very last game of the year, which really slimmed their path to the playoff. So honestly, the committee got it right. Like we can sit here and haggle about the order of the seedings and whatnot, and that's fine, dandy. But if you ask me, did they get the 12 teams correct here? I 100% agree. They got all the 12 teams here correct. They could have been a case also for Ole Miss maybe in there, maybe in South Carolina. But honestly, you're stretching the palate there, to make that work. But these matches are really really intriguing. And I know we'll probably do a preview. Maybe next week or so. We'll do a bracket challenge or bracketology episode where we just break down these matchups and kind of predict the entire bracket. By the way, they don't reseed also in college football now the playoffs. So whatever the bracket says. So the winner of Tennessee and Ohio State will play Oregon. The winner of Clemson and Texas plays Arizona State. The winner of Notre Dame and Indiana plays Georgia, and then the winner of Penn State SMU plays Boise State. I would argue the easiest path might be the bracket. I'm looking at this right now. The SMU, I think Penn State could. I'm not picking them. It's not any predictions here, but I think Penn State can crack the Final Four here because you'll play SMU, who's beatable. You win that game, you play Boise State, who's beatable. I'm not picking Penn State to win. I'm just saying that I'm looking at the path of last resistance. And to me, Penn State has probably the best path of less resistance. Maybe in Texas to some degree as well. I think they'll destroy Clemson personally, but we'll see. We'll talk about that in a week or so. But look at this bracket. I'm pretty excited about this. This is going to be very exciting times for college football. I'm glad we got 12-team playoff. Some people are already advocating for a 16-team playoff, and I mean, I'm not necessarily 1,000% against it, but I think let's run the 12 for a couple of years to see how that runs, and then if the 12-team playoff actually does well, then we can and we see some desire for a 16-team playoff. We'll go there at that point too, also. But I'm just glad I live in a world now where we get a 12-team playoff. I mean, when I started watching college football in the late 80s, early 90s, I came from an era where you got the USA Today poll and the coaches poll and the AP poll, and they decided champions. And to me, that I never liked that. And then we came from that to the BCS, which a lot of people don't like the BCS. I thought the BCS had, I thought the BCS had some sort of a place. You know, most people will call it the BSC. You know, because the computers does not know who Nick Saban is and does not know who they don't take account for. They take account for the straight schedule and all that. You can use some of the BCS model to today's standards, which I'm sure they do now. They had the playoff 4 that came out in 2014, which we were excited about that as well too, and that brought more chaos. But I think right now the 12-team playoff, you know, and to me, what made this great more than anything else was the fact that every game mattered this year. Like there was really some. I mean, there was some weeks this year in college football where like you watch the you know. Weeks, there'll be weeks that you think there'll be nothing going on. It'll be it's a dead week, no big deal. And then there was like upsets. It was like week 5, week 6, where we thought it was a light week on schedule, no really marquee games, and also we have massive upsets left and right. And I think that parity, we have the combination of NIL plus the parity right now in college football, the movement. I think college football is in a great place. I think college football right now for the next couple of years is going to be just must watch TV every week. You know, in the same way NFL kind of is now. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. Like I said, we'll try to do a bracket. I plan to do like a bracket breakdown of these matchups and do predictions on this. I'm not going to spill anything just yet, but I'm pretty stoked for the college football playoff that starts September 20th on a Friday, and we'll go from there. I cannot wait. All right, one more thing. Football-related thing. I want to keep this episode really short. As I know, I'm recording this right now while right now in the middle of the 4:00 games in NFL in Week 14. The Giants did play earlier today. They lost again to the New Orleans Saints, 14-11. You know, I am someone that has never embraced the whole idea of tanking. Like, you guys know what tanking is. It's losing games on purpose or wanting the team to lose games so to be in a position to draft the best player possible in the upcoming draft. The New York Giants right now are up shit's creek right now. They absolutely need a quarterback. Obviously, Daniel Jones is gone. Daniel Jones has now been cut. He's been released. You know, he's on backup on the Minnesota Vikings. And the Giants right now are just right now lost, and they need a massive reset. At the same time, the hard part for me is that I don't want them to lose games at the peril of losing Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, the GM Joe Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll. To me, I think they still deserve one more chance to draft the quarterback, number one, because again, Daniel Jones was not drafted by Daniel Jones. Excuse me, Daniel Jones was not drafted by Schoen and Daboll. It was actually a David Gettleman hire. So I believe that Joe Schoen should be able to pick the quarterback for once and see where that sees through and give them another year or two to assess that situation. So, but I'm not confident that, you know, there's been rumors that, you know, Joe Schoen's job is pretty much safe and Brian Daboll's job is fairly safe. Things are falling off the cliff. Now, I hope John Mara and Tisha Mara ownership group are, you know, I won't say embracing the tank, but understanding that we need to do a massive reset. There was a plane flying above the stadium today, MetLife Stadium today, with the saying that, you know, fire, not saying that John Mara, we need changes now. You make, you know, dumps of fire, this kind of thing, and I'm saying to myself, you're a Giants fan. You're not going to change anything now in the next 4 weeks. Okay, the only thing you can do now is figure out where your draft position is going to be in the next 4 weeks. Okay, once you get there, it is what it is. We need a quarterback. I want Shedeur Sanders. I want Cam Ward. You know, and we won't get that if we have a pick, any pick less than 2 or maybe 3. We're not gonna have those guys. Okay, so we need to make sure we're in the top 2 spots in the draft. So I've embraced the tank now. I've now embraced the look. It was strange for me to watch. Look, I hate the Saints. I'm not a Saints fan. My wife is. But I'm here watching the game, and it's so weird for me to root for the Saints. Last week, I'm rooting for the Cowboys. Thanksgiving Thursday rather, because I understand the bigger picture for the Giants right now is to get better. The way you're going to get better is to find a way to draft a quarterback. There's no quality quarterbacks right now in free agency coming up anyway, as is. So this team has to fall apart. Okay, is what it is. So Yeah, it sucks. With 4 more weeks to go, that I'm bracing the tank, but here we are. Here we are. Um. Anyway, one last thing out of here. NBA. I have really had a hard time watching, and not say watching, because I do watch the. I'm still watching NBA, obviously. But this year, at least in the first 6 weeks, 7 weeks of the year, it's been really tough for me to lock in the year. And I don't know if it's because of the election that's passed recently. It was you're watching a lot of content outside the NBA. Football season obviously is going on with college football, NFL. I know what it is, but there's a lot of things now, and I've noticed that I'm not the only person that feels this way too. Also, I know a lot of people, a lot of sports writers or even sports columnists or sports commentators that I admire. I know Nick Wright made a mention recently that he obviously watches the NBA a lot of it's because that's his job, but he doesn't feel so locked into the year right now. He feels like, oh, it's here, it's back, okay, cool. And look, the NBA is my favorite league. The basketball is my favorite sport of all time. It's not even close. But this year, for some reason, I just haven't felt like attached to the season yet. Now, look, I do think at some point this year, probably in January, February, when football winds down, as they get to the playoffs and things start to wind down, because there's less and less teams to follow throughout the NFL season. You'll start seeing more attention given to the NBA. I mean, I've done a couple podcasts, since season started, but nothing over the top. All my attention right now has been with football and even the election too, to some degree, that's now gone by the wayside somewhat. But the NBA, I mean, I think a lot of it too also is probably the style of play. It's probably gotten a little wear and tear for me now. Like, as much as I love the 3-point shot, there's not enough diverse play of basketball being done now. Players all depending on 3-point shots. There's no more mid-range game. There's no more post-up game. There's also the crazy amount of injuries we've seen with superstars this year. Kevin Durant's out again. Who also was missing time? It's a bunch of stars missing time this year. Jimmy Butler for the Heat missing time. Joel Embiid has played 4 games this year since the season started. I mean, there's some interesting stories in the league right now. Like, obviously, OKC is dominating the West right now. Right now, the story of the year is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who only lost 3 games so far. Boston's doing Boston things. The Atlanta Hawks has gotten red hot recently. But it's just nothing really right now that's really making me grab attention. The Lakers have started to suck now the last couple of weeks now. LeBron has had his probably worst stretch of basketball in his entire career. It's been a very, nothing really that's really getting me to attach myself to the NBA right now, and it's not a good thing. And also, ratings are down, so I feel like it's not just me. I think a lot of people who do love the NBA are not locked in. Like, it's background noise. Like, even though I have League Pass and I have FanDuel Sports to watch the Heat games, it's like sometimes I have to go out my way to put on the games. Like, I have multiple TVs downstairs. Like, my wife and I be downstairs watching movies or TV. I'm like, I have the other TV available to put on the games to have to watch it. And like, there's just some nights I'm like, I don't feel motivated to put TV on, and I don't know why. It's just I don't know, man. It's just so far this year has not really been. I haven't been excited about this about the league right now. And again, I think there's a lot of reasons why. I'm not the only one. I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way, especially because of the fact that I actually love the NBA. I'm passionate about the sport. Like, I want to do better. I want it to continue to grow. But it's a lot of things I think that has hurt the sport in recent years. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a little concerned about the future of the product. I really am, because we live in an era now where there's more things to distract you. More people are getting to other things outside of sports, and I mean, this is something, for example, hockey suffered with years ago. Like, once that strike and that lockout happened back in 2006, or it was 2004, what year it was that the lockout happened. But it took hockey a while, the NHL a while, to get back into the mainstream here in America again. It hurt the product. Same with baseball back in the 90s when they had that strike in 94. It that took a massive hit to the product. The NBA, I'm not sure I'll go down those waters as bad, because the NBA is still a big deal, and obviously personalities aside, but also too there's really no stars that we can really gravitate to right now, in a sense where LeBron is on his last legs, and Steph Curry is about to end his last legs. Kevin Durant is his last legs. The best players in the league right now currently are players that aren't necessarily guys that are mainstream must-see TV guys. even for casual fans. Now, I don't count on that. Like, I love seeing Nikola Jokic play basketball or Luka Doncic, but casual fans probably they know the names but probably aren't attached to it. Whereas LeBron James doesn't attach to that. Michael Jordan was an attachment to that. Magic Johnson, Shaq, Kobe, all attachments to them. Must-see TV. Those guys are not what I would consider must-see TV in the same way. For me, yes. For casuals, maybe not so much. And I think that's why the NBA is suffering right now. That's one of the reasons why the NBA is suffering right now with ratings and interest, and there's not any hype. Now, once football's out the way in January, February, past Super Bowl, we get down to the All-Star break and all that, and we get to the final stretch of the NBA season before the playoffs in April, I think it'll pick up, obviously. But right now, I just don't feel any attachment to the NBA, and it really truly sucks. Because, again, I'm a diehard. So, anyway, short pod today on this Sunday afternoon. I'm going to go get my kids, get their baths, their dinner, and watch a Christmas movie with my family. Again, I am on Facebook, Twitter, should I say, X at EJ Christian 7, Blue Sky as well, too, EJ Christian 7. Check it out as well, too. My YouTube page at youtube.com/Earnest I can't talk today, so therefore I'm going to end this podcast and go hang with my family. Talk to you guys later. God bless y'all. And till the next one.